Writers and their cities are inseparable, and no city is more intertwined with a writer's identity than Prague's with Franz Kafka, maybe the most influential writers of the 20th century. Kafka's Prague was a city of contradictions. The capital of Bohemia under Austro-Hungarian rule, divided between Czechs and Germans, marked by nationalistic tensions and rising antisemitism. There were bridges and monuments carved with full of nationalistic symbolism. The city's towering cathedrals and labyrinthine streets created an oppressive atmosphere. Kafka felt this deeply. He felt small next to these enormous cathedrals, which I think was the purpose of building this, and he made his readers feel it through his writing, especially when describing the claustrophobic nature of the city. This anecdote is often attributed to Kafka. When they were looking outside the window with his friend, he pointed out, "That was my high school, and behind it there you can see the university, and a bit further on the left is my office. This small circle," and his fingers traced a pair of small rings, "encloses my whole life." Today, you can see Kafka's presence all over the city, in its streets, squares, plaques, and souvenir shops. Stepping into Franz Kafka Museum feels like entering both his world and his mind, or imagination. I was expecting some jump scares there, but got existential dread instead. The space is dark, maze-like, and claustrophobic, filled with art, texts, and fragmented thoughts. As intended, it is as if you have wandered into the nest of a giant cockroach. And as you descend the stairs back outside, daylight greets you like an abrupt contradiction. So what was Kafka's identity? Well, he spent his whole life searching for an answer for this. I found this very revealing for Kafka. In one of his stories, a young man introduces himself, saying, "I am 23 years of age, but as yet I have no name." Born a Jewish German in the heart of anti-Semitic Europe, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, he lived in constant conflict, both internal and external. On one side, wealthy yet his dominant, art-hating father's cruelty and his careless mother. On the other, a city divided by language, nationality, and politics. He struggled to find a place for himself, and battled with a sense of oppression, meaninglessness, and hopelessness. He often felt like he was walking through a maze with no exit. By day, Kafka worked a dull job at an insurance company, calculating accident compensations for injured workers. Exhausting and suffocating tasks. He listened to workers with severe injuries, expecting rage, but instead they were calm, almost resigned. They didn't break things, they didn't grab the clerks by their collars. It was absurd for him. Marginalized and overwhelmed by alienation, he kept looking for love, for a meaning, for a way to exist in this place, or world, which was unbearably cruel to him. A world that is eerily familiar to his fiction. A world that would be later called Kafkaesque. Kafka felt trapped in his job, in his home, in his city. At 40, tuberculosis defeated him. For a man so connected to Prague, the city became a metaphor for him. It too was destroyed by its own divisions, just like Kafka. You won't usually find romanticism in Kafka's writing. He lived through grotesque realities as someone who felt weak and insecure, primarily because of his relationship with his dominant father. That's why he doesn't try to comfort or entertain the reader. Instead, he gives us something bizarre yet painfully familiar. Kafka gives us the axe for the frozen sea within us. In his diary to the same friend, he added these about the circle. The center of the imaginary circle bristles with beginnings of red-eye, a development at most in the sense that tooth becoming hollow and decay undergoes one. The way I led my life never proved its worth in the slightest. It was as if I, like every other person, had been given the center of a circle, as if I then, like every other person, had to follow the decisive radius and then draw the beautiful circle. Instead, I have perpetually started the radius, but again and again had to break it off immediately. Examples: piano, violin, languages, German studies, anti-Zionism, Zionism, Hebrew, gardening, carpentry, literature, marriage attempts, an apartment of my own. The center of the imaginary circle bristles with beginnings of red-eye. There is no more space for a new attempt. No space means age, weakness of nerves, and no further attempt means the end. His writing forces us to confront the contradictions of life. They baffle and unsettle us, making us laugh at our own estrangement and suffering. Kafka gives us absurdism as a place to take refuge in. But is taking refuge in absurdism a good act of resistance to the meaninglessness and oppression? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Kafka's works have become synonymous with Prague, the city he loved and hated. And this marginalized and alienated heart of him has kept beating in the city louder and louder.